you cannot relate with this person. So the issues of fear of authority, the issues that come up that I'm afraid of people that appear to be, something different to me. What does that mean, and how is that covering my relationship with you being this authority figure, the therapist? So the session goes wasted, it's gone. Is important for me in my process of recovery to see where it is that things continue to come up. I don't see them as mistakes or a mistake or I fucked up. It's more of, okay, this is a teaching experience that I yet have not learned, and where do I trace it to the past? People, females connected to you then, right? But there was stuff going on with those females. Either I could be one of those females that I was abused and learned to attract unavailable, attract what was familiar to me to be abandoned. The stage could be set up in that form, and it could be appear to look really nice, but deep down inside, I've been so used to being abandoned that this feels good and nice, so I'm gonna do this. And what happens? I get abandoned again. So it's attaching all of this to my past, where it comes from. I still today can be connected to that fear of authority. I was sitting here actually, and as I'm hearing, my little girl was reacting like, oh, when do I say something? What should I say? The perfectionism, I'm supposed to be perfect because when I was young, I was taught to be perfect, right? That's not the way you say that. That's not the way you do that. That's not the way that you dress. That's not when you should have said something. And the mixed message was created. Who the fuck am I then? So now I'm growing up. I'm in a older person body with a little girl that's still working to develop and redefine who she is in this big world. And you know what? Having sex with multiple partners is not a bad thing. How do I feel about it? Because society will tell you that you're not supposed to. You should either be married, you should have one. Oh, that's what my mom told me. Oh, that's what religion told me. Who the fuck do I want to be? Who do I want to screw? Who do I not want to? I can also identify with being in recovery 21 years, and when I first came into the process, having an identity problem because I too was molested, right? I too had experiences with females. But what I found out was that my experiences were always when I was high. So it was just sexual addiction taking a toll, right? Now I come into recovery and I have everyone trying to, talk to me. It's like, oh my goodness, so who am I? What am I? And so I gave myself enough time to explore and discover that no, I don't like same sex, and I'm cool with that, right? I like the opposite. But there came a lot of other teachings in the process of these 21 years. I do a lot of work with healing the inner child, because if I can get to the core of that, then I have a better chance as an adult today. And for many years did, and I do still healing the inner child. I go to another 12-step program that's called Adult Child of Alcoholics, and that's where it's greater than me going to a psychologist and listening to them. Right, the first time I went to a therapist and my molestation stuff came up, I thought that you were bringing it up to me and wanted to shame me. I didn't know that shame and guilt was coming up for me, and it's like, it's okay for you to feel this. It's normal for you to feel this. Don't run away. I left and I never came back. I went back and I used, right? Until I then said, let me try this shit again. But it's been through help because I was desperate. I want to heal, I need help. So it's been through these healing groups, taking, a life of their own, whether it's 12 steps, whether it's retreats, whether it's, small groups, and having one common bond. What is that? Healing for all of us, for myself, and for the universe to put it out there. So, that's what I have for now.
I just want to say, right, because everything I've heard, you're sharing, one thing about, I've always had a problem with tough guys. I'm the guy that had to be tougher than the tough guy, right? And I was always clashing. And let me tell you something. I was in Clinton Annex, right? And there was this kid. He was a gang member. He was a big dude. He used to push his weight around. Yeah, he was a bully, basically. And he would go in the freaking kitchen. You know, we had a kitchen there. You been to Clinton Annex, Nick?
No, I was in the Annex. I was in the main.
Okay. Yeah, he was tougher than me then. You know, he would go in the kitchen and take your pot off the stove and put his shit on the stove and like nothing. And I remember the anxiety I used to feel, and I would fantasize about stabbing this dude like repeatedly. Like I would have this rage, but he never violated me. Like he knew who to fuck with. You understand what I'm saying? But here, check it out. One day my roommate comes in, right, and he says, he's coming in there like, oh, I said, what happened? And he said that the dude is standing in the bathroom doorway and bumps him and staring him down. My roommate was a gangster, bro. Like he was, but he wanted to get a trailer. You understand? And he said that he'd been down 17 years, and every time he went to go for a trailer visit, he would go to the box, right? And I got so enraged, right, that I went out to do razor exchange, and the dude is standing in the fucking doorway. And as I'm approaching him, I said, yo, my man, I know you ain't standing. You know, I said some shit like that. He was like, what? You know, he made this face and shit. Yo, and I put the beats on this dude, bro. I couldn't stop fucking this dude up. Yo, I didn't even realize how strong I was, but I picked this, yo, I hit him, grabbed him, slammed him, got on top of him, and the fucking COs was like, I'm gonna pull the pin, break it up, I'm gonna pull the pin. And the COs came and they beat my ass and they took me to Keep Lock. And this is the humiliating part, right? Because my ego feels good about, you know, that shit, right? But here's the humiliating part, right? I go to my tier hearing, right? And it was a Puerto Rican dude named Lopez. He was a civilian, and he says to me, you know, he turns the recorder off.
Yeah, tier 3.
Exactly. And he says to me, you know, yo, you cleaned that guy's clock. He signed into PC, you know? And he said, but do you know that he got psychological issues? You know that he has a 2nd grade education? You know that he's been abused as a child? And I was like, yo, I feel like crying now, bro, because, yo, that shit fucked me up, bro. Like, he was stabbing me. And yo, I went back to my cell, bro, and I was crying. And I would look at him, right? And he was in this corner cell, right? That was like the PC cell. But it was in front of my cell. You know what I'm saying? And he wouldn't even look at me, bro. You know? And he wouldn't talk to nobody in the tier because he signed in. So his gang affiliate brothers was saying that he was fooled, meaning that when they get him, he's fucked up. And I felt terrible, man. I still feel terrible because I don't know what happened to that kid. You know what I'm saying? But what I want to share is that when I hear your story and I heard his story, it helped me to understand people. That tough guys are really afraid. They're covering something up. You understand? I know I did.
Yeah.
When you talked about identity crisis, I grew up in Castle Hill Projects. I look white, right? I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, right? But I look white. I had straight hair, freckles. So I was called Spanky, Opie, Richie Cunningham, and you know all these damn names. Mad from Mad Magazine, and I used to fight in school all the time and get suspended, and I hated myself. I hated the way I looked. I just hated myself, bro. I wanted to be darker, I wanted to be taller, I didn't like nothing about, and I had an identity crisis. I didn't know who I was. And I remember going to Rikers Island, and I remember the Latin Kings in the early 90s came up to me and said, yo, you Puerto Rican? And I was like, yeah. And this dude says to me, well, why you look white? And I was like, what? And he was like, yo, sign up for the library. And I was like, what you mean sign up for the library? He said, if you don't sign up for the library, we got you out of here. In other words, they was gonna jump me or cut me or whatever the hell they was gonna do at the time. And my pride, bro, like I fought it for a minute. But I looked and I saw there was, at that time, if you remember the early 90s, Latin Kings were powerful, bro. You know what I mean? They were really strong. This is when the blood started forming to counteract, you know, the abuse that was happening, you know. And anyway, I went to the library and they gave me a book on the history of Puerto Rico, right? And I never, you know, I didn't read books. I didn't give a shit about school, right? But I learned that, you know, that I'm predominantly, you know, the European part of me is predominant, you know, because my grandfather, which is Cuban, which I studied also, his family migrated to Cuba from Spain. So they were European. They were white. You know what I'm saying? And my mother's side, her mother, and my father's side, my father has African blood in him. You understand? So, understanding that and understanding that the whole stuff helped me to forgive people and forgive myself for things that I did, because I thought there was something wrong with me, because I used to fall short a lot, but I was enraged, bro. I was enraged, you know. So these type of groups, the vision that I have is that, and the reason why I invited you guys, especially, you know, is because I know that your message and your story, not only, like you said, just the history of it, but what are we doing now? You know what I'm saying? Like, it gives people hope that, damn, you know what, I went through that shit, and I might be in a dark place right now. And I was telling you this yesterday in the car, or the day before yesterday, right? Where I shared that, you know, Barkem and I remember Barkem and I used to be sitting in the car a lot, and you know, and I won't tell his story, but he was in a dark place at one time, man, and I was in a different place, right? And now the roles are reversed, right? So now I'm in the passenger seat, right? And I'm not in a dark place because he gives me hope. I see the potential. I already know what's gonna happen because I see his process. You get what I'm trying to say? So he's my future, you know, and I'm his past right now. Where prior, I was your future and you was my past. You get what I'm saying? So this is needed, man. This is needed because if you look at my inbox on Facebook, crazy, bro. Crazy. They ask all type of stuff, you know? So, you know, I just wanted to share that, like, you know, it helped me to be more humble, man. I don't have to fight everybody, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to be the guy who has to prove that I'm tougher than you, you know what I'm saying? So, anyway.
You know, and I want to go back to something you said, because all the healing that I've done and I continue to do, right, as an adult, always connects back to that child within. So even the other day, right, so, and there's so many layers to honesty.
That's right.
Just when you think you got it.
That's right.
So I you know, I've been going through something. I was let go of a job that I was, you know, I did for 21 years. And it, you know, it shook me, right? So, but it, you know, so the pain of today is nothing, right? But it attaches itself to the pain of yesterday. So I too have been molested, right? That's why it's so important to tell that, because there's so many of us and so many of our kids. It's happening right now. As we speak, somebody's getting molested, right? So I remember getting molested and thinking that was the deal, right? That was my pain. That was my wound, you know, getting molested. And then the other day I was thinking about that because I was in a group and I heard someone say, "Oh, I was molested." So the other day I'm thinking about that, and I said, "Damn, I healed from that, didn't I?" I said, why is it coming up? Because it just came up. What I didn't deal with was the molestation wasn't shit. You know, I think I was 6, the kid was 9. You know, I don't know how much of it was him being a predator or him being curious. I mean, you know, again, this is years later. What hurt me, the wound that was still there, was the fact that when my father found out that I was molested, he called me a faggot. and he kicked me from one side of the street. I'm serious. I went up in the air and I landed up on the other side of the street. He grabbed me by my hair, ran me to my house, and took soap and put that shit in my mouth and made me swallow most of it. So I didn't make peace with that part of it, you know, and that's shame, you know. My father was ashamed of me, and I carried that shame, and it's still there. So this is just the other day. I'm 59 years old. I thought my healing was done. I've been in recovery 29 years. What the hell is this? No, I don't think it's done until it's done, you know? So it's always, and that's why it's so important for us to get to our story quick. You know, I don't have to wait for it to be kicked up if I'm talking to a kid. I got to be willing, and that's the whole thing about being a Spark Messenger, right? That's the whole thing about my work. What my boss couldn't do, you know, why I could do it, because I'm willing to go there, and I'm willing to go there right away. Just like you did.
Exactly.
Just like, because that's where the healing is going to take place. So this is practice for that. But, you know, I'm a Spark Messenger. I'm a healer. But damn, I'm so fresh still after all these years in the healing process myself.
I want to add a little something to that. Going back to how this process is an ongoing. I think it's important that people know that you don't identify something and you get it. It's